Hi people, it's Archivist here, hope you're doing well, and today I've got yet another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video for you. We're going to have in the background today a Cyberse versus Dark Magician game, Cyberse versus Chaos Max Dragon, and also Cyberse versus Frightfur, an archetype I haven't gone up against before, and of the 3 games I played it was definitely the most challenging. And I was quite intrigued by the design of the Frightfur archetype. It's almost like Yu-Gi-Oh's take on Five Nights at Freddy's. Something to legitimately be a little bit nervous of. Going up against Dark Magician, I was trying to take some notes, some inspiration, because this is in fact the 4th deck that I'm trying to build. I've managed to create about 1/3 of it, however I'm going to have some real difficulty creating the ultra rares in the deck, like Dark Magician itself. Whereas my first 2 decks were really easy to create and my Cyberse deck took a bit of effort but certainly was doable, I'm really not sure when I'm going to have my Dark Magician deck done because my sources of gems has seriously dried up. I've completed solo mode, I've completed the Duel Pass, even Gold Duel Pass, so now my only real remaining source of gems would be missions, and also obviously the means of buying them with real world money. And while I'm not putting this completely off the table, I'm trying to budget myself in a way where I don't spend any more money than I would spend on the game if it was just a typical release, right? And I think I would evaluate this game as about a £40 release, not full price, but also not a budget title, because there are some genuine production values in here and a lot of content to enjoy. So I'm not against spending about £40 on the game, but also I'm thinking, do I want to spend it this early and maybe not just reserve that for later on where maybe some more cards unlock. There are definitely some cards from my other decks that I want to try and get when they come out, like Blue Eyes Ultimate Alternative Dragon and Red Eyes Alternative Black Dragon, both alternatives but they're both mysteriously missing at the moment. Also, if I am lucky, or if a lot of us are lucky, Red Eyes Dragoon, but I'm not sure if I ever see that because it's just so powerful, just so broken. But yeah, I'm in a bit of a dilemma right now. I want to create this 4th deck, this Dark Magician deck, but the thing is now I just have so few sources of acquiring gems, and therefore sources of getting new cards to make my Dark Magician deck. There was also my game against Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, which I thought was quite poetic because just yesterday I was trying out my own Chaos Max Dragon deck and I was talking about how formidable of a creature it is with 4000 attack and some really heavy protection. But if you have a deck that can get over 4000 attack, it isn't that intimidating. And unfortunately in the game I played I didn't get to deliver the final blow, which I'm beginning to realise is an increasing trend. So many players will surrender before you can actually reduce their life points to 0. But nevertheless, it was inevitable I would win. I don't think they would surrender if they had other viable plays. So I'm going to take it as a victory regardless. But they were able to summon out a Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon and a Chaos Max Dragon onto the field in their first turn. And I would have thought about a week ago, maybe more, that was a genuinely scary opening play with very few things you could do to counter it. But I'm quite happy that my incredibly consistent Cyberse deck, I am going to be honest about it, I love the consistency of my Cyberse deck. It just always delivers to get those powerful monsters out. I was able to put onto the field 2 monsters that went beyond 4000 attack, and I don't doubt it was my second 4000 attack plus monster, my Firewall X Sea Dragon, that made him think, okay, I just can't beat this, I'm going to surrender. He'd played his best resources, he didn't have much left, so he just thought, okay, I'm going to go with this. So it's crazy how a deck or an opening play that at one time I thought was overpowered, unbeatable, is in fact something that with the right combination is actually quite easily overcome. And then the final game I played today was against Frightfur. This was a very rare game where I actually went first. It seems to be that either I lose the coin toss and my opponent wants to go first, or I win the coin toss and I want to go second. So it's very rare that I end up playing first, but this was a situation where I did. And I do have a dedicated strategy I try to go for when I go first, where I will move into Cyberse Clock Dragon, because while Cyberse Clock Dragon is on the field, it's the only monster that can be targeted for effects or battle, and then I connect it to a Codetalker who prevents it from being targeted from card effects. But as I found in this game, it just doesn't seem to work out that well. So going forward, I'm thinking of connecting my Cyberse Clock Dragon to an Codetalker to prevent it from being destroyed. This still doesn't make it invincible, because you can destroy the Codetalker, or you could just banish it or transfer the Cyberse Clock Dragon to your side of the field, all kinds of things. But it just seems like whenever I bring in Cyberse Clock Dragon, it always ends up being destroyed. It's crazy, even though I feel like I'm giving it so much security when I summon it. But nevertheless, it keeps me alive, and I was able to respond and thankfully take down my opponent, even though they managed to make a very powerful opening play themselves with 3 fusion monsters, all over 3000 attack, that in a lesser deck might have spelled a death knell. The thing I have humbly realised that does not make my Cyberse deck a meta deck is that there are not enough hand negates, cards that you can play from your hand during your opponent's turn that will negate effects, or in the case of the now notorious Max C, you can play it, and then every time your opponent special summons, you can then draw a card from your deck. Now, I do have some fun with this sometimes, where someone will play Max C. In fact, you might have seen it earlier in my Dark Magician game, where they play Max C, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make you draw out half the cards in your deck, but it's not going to matter, because I'm going to finish you in one turn. And that is very satisfying to do, because as a Cyberse combo player, I'm not the biggest fan of Max C, but I do take it as a personal challenge to try and take the enemy down in a single blow if I can, so they don't even get a chance to play any of those cards they drew from their deck. Unless, of course, one of the cards they draw is itself a hand negate, which it's just amazing when you go into Platinum specifically. It's Platinum where it just feels like everyone is playing these same cards, and miraculously they always seem to have them in their opening hand. But I also try to pull myself from getting too frustrated, because I do appreciate that if these particular cards didn't exist, these hand negates, then combo decks like my Cyberse deck would be overpowered, because they would just be unstoppable, and therefore they would likely end up getting nerfed in some respect. So as much as it's frustrating to have to face them, I also try and take a step back and think, look, they need to be there, because otherwise combo decks would just rule everything and they'd end up getting banned eventually. I don't want that to happen, because I really do enjoy this Cyberse deck. And I must say that while I've been very positive about Master Duel so far, and I am continuing to enjoy it, I really love it, I've been playing it every day since it released after all, but I think especially today when I had more time to play the game, I feel as if I'm hitting the wall. I've hit the wall in terms of cards I can now get. I feel like I'm stuck with the decks I've got, unless I concede and spend real money or just grind for many hours, and frankly I just don't have time to do that. And I'm also hitting the wall in terms of my opponents. It seems like I've been bouncing between gold and platinum constantly. I will just come out and say this, guys, I don't think I belong in platinum. I lose way more games than I win in there, and I jump back to gold where I win more games than I lose, and it just constantly sends me between gold and platinum. But I would just love to stay at gold tier 1, because that really feels like my level, my pace. I'm not bullying new players, I'm just winning a good amount of games, I'm losing a good amount of games for balance. But platinum, it just feels like if you want to play in platinum in Master Duel, you have to choose one of these specific decks which is designed to win in the meta. And if you don't do that, it's just not all that fun, frankly. It's just not all that fun. And as I said in a previous video, something I desperately want is for Konami to introduce a casual play mode, because I'd use that for my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck, my Red Eyes Black Dragon deck, and if I ever manage to create it, my Dark Magician deck. So I do hope we see some improvements to Master Duel on the horizon, but at the same time, I can't deny I am continuing to have a lot of fun with Master Duel. As always, people, thanks very much for watching and see you next time.